Yo, what's going on, everyone? Happy Sunday. Hopefully, everyone's doing well. Oh, wow. A ton of people in the comments already. Really appreciate your time. We're going to have a blast, a really fun show today. Darren's about to pop on. Oh, I see him popped on now. He's backstage finally, fashionably late. But we're gonna have an interesting episode this week. We're not gonna really have one specific guest, but we're going to have actually a brother of ours, Tim, with Morphed Out Reptiles, to chime in on a very important subject. So leveling up projects. We kind of see everything that's going on in the industry, whether it's the top dogs, whether it's us in the middle, lower end, trying to kind of figure out our own lane. But we got some interesting things to talk about and some experiences to share with you guys. We want to put content out there, whether it's recorded content, pre-recorded content, or live content that's going to generally help everybody in the industry, whether it's something you've been through or you may end up running into. Just to kind of put it out there on the table and let you know that you're not alone and there's ways that you can make it through all of the above. What's going on, Isaac? Check in real quick for bringing them on. Low Life, what's good? Ball Game, hey, big shout out. What's good? Yes, a very different episode this week. Not a full blown interview. We actually had Morph Minded scheduled, but we're gonna reschedule them. Some things popped up, but we still got some things undercover to really talk about with you guys. And we'll be reading these comments and hopefully bring to light any of your questions you may have when we touch on certain topics. So while I skim the comments and without further ado, we're going to bring the whole panel on. Tim, Morphed Out Reptiles, and as you guys already know, my bro, Darren. Yo, what's going on, guys?
What up?
Darren, you look sweaty, bro. You just get kidnapped. They try to kidnap you, bro.
So they try to kidnap him?
Man, there was an Amber Alert. We was working.
Amber Alert. Yeah, that was only down here in the deep south. They only had it down here in the Spartanburg area.
Yeah, they didn't have it over here.
Oh man, they probably got so many people out there. They allowed them to be lost and then find themselves.
Lost in the sauce. For a while.
So we're gonna start it off. Really jump out there, leveling up the collections. We're gonna have you guys, because I'm the newest member really to this industry. You guys been doing it much longer than I have. And I know Darren tends to be very cut short to the point. I want you to elaborate on these issues because other people indirectly are affected by the same experiences we deal with on the year to year. So first up, Tim, to get us set straight, explain your story with Bob Vu, where I believe it was a super orange string pie you produced.
Oh yeah.
You can hear it in his voice. So, and the reason behind it is we need to put out the mindset we had at that moment. What we were thinking about when we made a certain decision, and then the actual outcome of it, and whether you would do the same thing again. So I give you the floor to kind of present, your story or your scenario.
So yeah, what's going on, everybody? So if you guys have been my channel and the story, everybody knows that my big break was probably the orange dream pie stuff. I hatched that stuff out pretty early off the top. So we were into making what we would consider at that time high value, but nowadays it's kind of, they're kind of not that sought out anymore. But when we made our first year, we made, I think it was a male orange dream enchi. I think it was just an orange dream enchi pie. I don't even think it was a super or anything like that. So, didn't hit.
Wait, you're cutting out. Male. You're cutting in and out, Tim. You're cutting in and out.
Oh yeah, you cut in. Yeah. Let's see.
I'm missing it. I'm like, I need to hear the story.
God damn it. Is that working?
Yeah.
Okay, now we can hear you because you were just burp, burp. Oh, did you froze? You froze.
Did I freeze?
Let's
All
see.
right.
No, I can still hear
You
you.
did.
Temporary difficulties. I hate this house. Hold on, let me see. Let me see. You guys are gonna see me move a little bit, but
That's
try
okay.
Share with everybody in the
to
chat.
try to see if we can take it to a different location.
No problem. No problem.
Do you know the hot spots, like where you get the best reception in the house?
And he probably does at this point.
In my wife's library, that's a mess right
Uh-oh.
now.
It's all good.
It's all
Nobody's worried about that. We need to hear the story. Like,
Not.
I
Yeah.
know. All right, so let's see. Let's see if this works.
Sounds great.
yeah, there you
Sounds
go.
great.
We better?
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, cool.
Lay it on us.
All right, so yeah, like I was saying, sorry about that, guys. Get this damn stand working. All right, so yeah, when we first started, we hit a male Orange Dream Enchi Pied. At the time, those were going, if they were available, they were going for, I think it was around like $6,000. For me, the year before, we kind of already did some Orange Dream Pied stuff, so we made a ton of females and held everything back. So at the time, my mindset was, I just made a $4,000 to $6,000 animal that, for me at the time, not being a big breeder, not, having a big nest of eggs sitting just when we can just throw it into the snakes. That was very early on. We were probably, I don't even know, maybe like 4 years, maybe 3 to 4 years, like with the name licensed. So still early, and had a few people reach out to me, and then Bob got a hold of me. And at the time, now I don't put all this, Bob was smart. It was my fault. But so at the time I was like, $3,000, $4,000, that's a lot of money, to pass on. And my biggest mindset at that time was, I have all the stuff, the original het dad that I had, and the females that were all hets. The visuals, we were still growing up, so they were only a year old. And we decided to sell it. Now, long story short, over the next 5 years, we probably hatched out, rough numbers, 45 more chances to hit that. I hit everything but a male. Didn't hit any males. Hit females, Orange Dream, female Orange Dream Enchi Pied, some hypo stuff, all females, no males. So here I am, probably at that point 6 to 7 years into the project, with still using the first Orange Dream het pied.
Right.
Now, in that mindset, I wasn't worried about it, because I was always like, man, whatever, that's cool. Bob didn't hesitate. Bob knew what he wanted, and he was like, look, and that was the funny thing too. Bob got me because he actually got, I think it was like 8 animals from me just to get that one animal put in the bunch.
Right.
So he worked it a little bit, but we ended up doing it. And again, yes, 5 years go by, a lot of eggs, a lot of breeding. That was my big project. So I was, over 50% of the collection was Orange Dream Pied something. Didn't hit another male. The year that I hit a male, even after doing supers, we did supers and only hit females. I didn't hit a male with the supers either. So after we finally hit a male, I didn't need him. It was 7, 8 years later. By that point, the project has really, I don't want to say tanked, because that's a terrible word, but it has gotten the value of what it should be, I think. And reaching back to Bob, the cool thing about all of that is that male, I don't know the exact number, but that male, the first year that Bob had him breeding, probably cleared $10,000 for him. And that's something to think about, because it's like, man, I don't even remember what I sold it to Bob for. It wasn't high, but he got a lot of stuff, so it was in the bunch. But thinking about that, it's like, man, Will, you and me were just talking about that recently with the new project that we're trying to shoot for. It's, when you have one male that can make $10,000, that's almost one animal that can clear somebody else's total for a whole collection for a season.
Right.
And with having that, you know, that weird mindset in the beginning, and it was really tough because, I mean, again, starting from, you know, nothing, it's only me doing the animals. Everything's got a cost. Everything's got a price. You get that high dollar animal and it's like, man, it's hard to, I'll keep it. But then when you have somebody that, like, you know, at the time, Bob, you know, if Bob wants it, Bob's not going to be like, let me talk to my wife. No, he's ready to buy it. And we had that happen a lot of the times in the beginning years, not even just with the Orange Dream Pied stuff. There was a few, you know, the puzzle stuff. We've talked about that a little bit. Like, we didn't want to keep it, but there's, you know, people seen it out the egg without a meal and was like, yeah, you know, we'll wait until it eats, but we want it. But sometimes, you know, it really affects you, especially like the Orange Dream Pied thing. Like, once we finally made one, I didn't need one. And when we tried to move that one, I think that one sold for like $700 or something like that.
Right.
So, like, years of being kind of not selfish, it definitely sucks. And then to find out that male, he bred with Bob, and then he went to, I think, 4 or 5 of mine and Bob's friends doing damage in their collection for a couple of years.
Right.
But what was your thought process on letting it go?
I seen
at that time.
My main process, and I'm not even gonna lie, because I can say it now without feeling bad about it, because I don't think like this anymore. But my biggest thing was, this could be a $3,000 or $3,500 sale, and I have a male and 5 females that are going to be breeding again next year. I'll hit one next year.
Yep.
How long did it take you to hit it again?
A male. See, and now this is the big thing. So again, when we talk about upgrading and everything like that, so I was always lucky to hit females, which is good in that project at the time because you need the females for the super. But if you don't have the right male, you're playing a game that's not on your side. And that's what the goal was. We were trying to make a male to replace our non-visual breeder. I didn't make another.
One second, not to cut you off. So Skyline or Sky High Morphs, Ryan and Holly, what's going on? We're going to touch on that after both of their stories, because you'll see once it goes full circle, it really doesn't make sense to buy it back. It's a very important timing schedule when it comes to taking breeding serious. And when you're leading a project like he once was by hatching that animal out, once you sell it, you really almost go back to the beginning from the drawing board. But we'll touch on that. But you go ahead, finish, brother.
But I mean, yeah, so like that was the whole mindset back then. I knew that I hatched out a snake. And again, at that time, there wasn't many people, you know, hatching them and releasing them. So like me, again, being a young person in the game and everything like that, it's like, oh man, I can sell this to, you know, Bob Vu. Bob's been a good friend of mine since the beginning. I remember when he only had one table, but it's still somebody like Bob has a name for himself. So it's like, okay, if we can do this, that's awesome. It makes us look good. Bob will help us out, push our name. He's going to put some work, and it's always going to trace back like, hey, our male came from Tim. But it was definitely the wrong thing to do, because by the time I made a male, I wasn't even interested in that project anymore.
Right. And it also shows that sometimes interests, you know, change, but I think a lot of influence on where you fall in that project can influence whether you change your mind on a certain progression of a gene or not. And not to beat it up too much or to harp on it too much, because it all kind of goes together. Now we're going to have Darren elaborate for the people who don't know his story as far as the dream sickle. If you can elaborate a little bit, getting into that project, how much were the visuals and how much were the hets when you bought into that project, and your goal of making the dream sickle, how long it took you, and the decline in price. Go ahead and tell your story.
At the time, I want to say when I first seen them, they were like 16 grand at that time, if you wanted to pick up a visual. But I was more of like, okay, I'm gonna get in this. I'm gonna make it, and I was just sticking to my guns on why pay that much when I can make it. I can start off low and sell them high. But what people didn't tell you how much the odds are on your side. So that's even having 3 females and 1 male. The odds of hitting it are slim. But nobody was telling you that. So I was still
And you're talking
making
about double head?
yes. I was still making some lavenders and I was making some pies in the process, but not hitting both in one.
And how much were your double head? You went with 1.3, right, on the double
Yeah.
heads?
So the double
How
heads at the
much?
time, the females were $1,000. Males were like 500, I think, $500 or $600. Wasn't that
Okay.
bad. But by the time you hit it took me 7 years. By the time I realized, hey, you know what? Let me keep this female pie and this male visual pie instead of taking those back to each other. So then when I hit the visual pie, I was like, you know what? Let me grab a male visual pie that's head for lab. That way I had all pies and turn around. Maybe I'll hit a lab, which when I did that, I hit one lab pie out of it. Everything else is pied, but only one visual dreamsicle. 7 years came along. that was it. It took me that long, but they were still worth 2,500 and $2,000 when I hit it.
Right,
Should I
from
sold
16.
in or should I keep it?
And that's a whole nother topic, whole nother video. But my vote for that would be sell. But that's because I'm no fortune teller. I just do the business side of it, and that's why I like having you guys around because I always with the one-on-one conversations. Me and Tim, we throw jabs at each other. I like picking on Tim because it's all in positivity and support. I'm like, man, how many times you gonna put your doggone hand on the stove and get burned? Like the stove is freaking hot, dude. And he keep putting his hand on the doggone stove. It's like it's hot. So I say that, and Darren do the same thing, but I'm the younger person in the hobby where I'm looking at it from the project's perspective. And again, I'm coming from a background of, if I'm watching you crash out, why am I going to go do the same exact thing? I can learn perfectly safe over here from your actual experience and take that and say, duly noted. I don't have to go put my hand on the stove to know that the stove is hot. He just got the heck burned out of him. And so that's my philosophy behind it. So which brought up too with leveling up on these projects. Both of you guys had the same issue in different ways, and other people in the hobby are having these same issues as well. And both of you literally did the same exact thing where here it is. We all have hundreds of snakes at this point, including babies. We're all literally buying snakes every single doggone year. You get into these programs and these projects, and for example, he gets into the dreamsicle and do the double head. It's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, if you see once you reach breeding age in year 2 and you did the pairing and you didn't hit, it's time to level up that male, whether it's one visual head this, and don't keep going at it double head to double head, because now you're going to increase your chances on hatching out. Same thing, with Tim. Yeah, okay, cool. You sold it, you made it come up, but now it's probably time to buy a non-het version of OD to get better odds to produce for you moving forward, because you got to keep leveling up. If you keep going with the same mindset of, I hit this 1 in 264 odds, I'll hit it again next year. Yeah, okay. You're gonna be doing that pairing forever.
I think what made it worse for me too is because when you have like a strong local feedback and stuff, you obviously have your customers that are really close to you. You guys talk all the time. So I was selling because I had so much Orange Dream head pied stuff. I was selling possible heads to customers, and because I was doing my own pairings wrong, they were hitting. They pretty much caught up because their heads proved out.
Yep.
So then it goes in planning.
That's one thing too.
And then the same thing. So with Sammy, how much is it worth now? And it has a lot of relevance to the market. Like Darren said, once he actually hit one, it drops down from 16 to 25. I don't think enough attention is being paid to that, because everybody wants their projects to be worth, the absolute most. I get it, everyone, ourselves included. But a lot of people try to make it complicated. It's really simple supply and demand. The more rare something is and not out there, if you're actually selling pieces of that or what we call ingredients of that out, and now you're increasing the chances of the people hitting it as well. And then once it's being a hit and replicate it over and over and over, then you're going to see those projects like Dreamsicle fall from 16,000 to 700, 500. It's okay though, because you could still put your your sauce, your flavor on it. If you want to put blackhead in it, work that angle. If you want to put cypress to it, work that angle. The problem comes with trying to replicate everybody else. Okay, if I love a Dreamsicle and they're $5,000, I can't be upset buying a baby, Dreamsicle or a pear and raising them up, and 3 years later I did nothing to add anything that I can dream of to that Dreamsicle project, but replicate more Dreamsicles. And now I'm upset that those same $5,000 animals are 800 now. I'm the problem.
Well, this is where we also got to look at it. Okay, so now that's the new base. The Dreamsicle is the new base.
Right.
Now we need to build on top of that. Okay, so what else are you going to add to it? So my first one that I hit was a male. It was a male. Now it's like, okay, now I need females. So then I hit the male and ended up doing a pairing again and hit two females and two males on that next note. But I hit one with pastel. The mom was pastel, and I hit one with pastel. It was lucky the other ones didn't come out with pastels, because
you're in Limey group. Shout out to Limey. Love Limey to death. He's our neighborhood old timer. I got to take advantage and pick on him.
See?
But it's a very older mindset to see it through, and that's not a bad thing all the time. But when you work on some projects like that, where you have all the opportunity in front of you to kind of level it up in different areas, and you choose not to, you say, that project going to do what it's going to do. I'm going to hit it eventually. Let me go take $2,000-$3,000 and spend it on a new project. Go take it every year. You're throwing this money at other projects instead of owning in on the things that you have and still adding others. So yeah, that's an older mindset. I'm not going to throw Tim in there, but that's an older Darren and Limey mindset. That's more the elder mindset.
But I wasn't really throwing more money at the project. I was just trying one project.
Right.
Now,
exactly.
The combos that I did, I wasn't investing. That's another thing. I wasn't investing. I was turning around, leveling up. I'm making money. I'm not even tripping. I'm not gonna do anything more than just that. I need to add more genes. I wasn't really adding more genes. I was like, I got it. Stranger was the next gene that I even invested in. So it was just being content where I was at. You know what I'm saying? It was like, I'm cool right here. I'm good. What genes do I want to add next? And I decided I'll do Stranger. I'll add Stranger in there.
So
because combos
at what point though do you change the mindset? So this goes almost to a hot seat. Actually, Darren was the big person who influenced this episode. We're gonna have Ash on at a Morph Minded on at a later episode. We're gonna reschedule him. But Darren actually thought, because we talk all the time, in some conversations it's hard to have. You're like, man, how many times I want to be told I'm doing something wrong? And it's like you don't really want to have those conversations all the time, and shoot, tell me I'm doing something wrong. And Tim as well as Darren, they're like, hey, tell them. So we have these tough conversations, and you really don't want to have yes men in your corner when for sake of the argument, it's your livelihood, it's your success, that's on the table. So Darren and I, we were talking, since he brought up Stranger, and it's kind of really a hot seat topic, because everybody saw when Stranger hit his peak and was pulling in thousands and thousands of dollars for the gene. We're seeing Stranger going for $300-$400 now. Stranger hets going for $400 or $500 now, and sometimes you can find them even lower. We all kind of bought into it at a higher price tag, and for us, we did a specific project, so it's a little different. Darren had got in pretty much. Well, I'll let you tell your story. What was the price tag when you got your stranger hat clown mail?
So I paid 5.5 for mine.
5,500.
Yep.
Okay. And he's a breeder now, and he's been breeding. How many clutches did he end up giving you?
So the first season that I got him, I only had 2 clutches from him. 2 clutches
Okay.
from him. And that was really breeding him at an early age, early grams wise. He was still at an early age because he was only 700 grams when I turned around and did it.
Okay. And what was the pairings? Obviously, he was stranger hat clown, but what was the pairing?
I paired him to a Mojave, pastel Mojave female, and then I paired him to a clown female. But I paired him to a couple of clown females, but only 2 females had clutches by him.
Okay. So at the end of the day,
which I wasn't really expecting him to do much because he wasn't even a year yet. He was coming on to a year.
So the first year, that means you got a pastel Mojave female clutch from him that will obviously be Pos had a clown from him, but then you also got a clown girl as well. So that year, do you even remember? You didn't got to be exact, but how many eggs you ended up getting from them roughly?
I want to say I got 8 and 6.
Okay, so that's perfect. Now, any clowns come out of that? Any stranger clowns?
Nope. No stranger clowns came out of that.
So you goose egg on a stranger clowns. Now, I guess this will be the second year breeding them, no?
Yes, second season breeding them.
Are his eggs laid? Are they out the egg or not yet?
No, they're not out the egg yet, but they laid.
All right, so they laid. So this was, for anybody that's literally intermediate level breeding and newer breeding, this is the inside conversation of what we be having on the one-on-one. I was advising Darren at the time. I'm like, look, this is all recent conversations. I said, you need to move your stranger hat clown male. He's a breeder, proven male. He should have moved him, back in December, January. And the reason behind that is you spend 50, and this is the dollars and cents, the business side of things. Things will go down. It's just how you end up utilizing it. So his male was $5,500. Cool. You jot that down. You raise him up. He started breeding them. He ended up getting 2 clutches. You got 14 eggs out of it. You bred them to one is not a good choice and one is a good choice. Breeding them, and in theory, the pastel Mojave combo is not necessarily a great choice for that male at that stage. But the clown is, because he's het clown, and you're already were in the earlier portion of the gene kind of getting hot. And for sake of the argument, 14 babies, there still were no clowns, no stranger clowns hatched. That's a problem because that's where you need to be breeding for yourself first, and you want to hopefully hatch out some stranger clowns females so you can hold them back. He didn't get that luxury. He still hit some strangers. They ended up being actually pastel strangers as well. He grew some out. He held some back. The problem with it is December, he should have put it on the chopping block because he was already visiting shows where they had stranger clowns, visual stranger clown males that already had a little bit of size on tables for $900.
900.
He paid $5,500 for his male. So at that point, it is time to level up. Why pick that point? You already have your clutch. You're disappointed, but you're not at a complete loss. You can definitely, back in December, you would have turned around and sold a proven 100% het clown stranger male for $2,500, ready to go for somebody else in their collection that will be leveling up. And he has his own rodent supply. He has no issue with feeders. He would have got that male back in November, December, that stranger clown male. That male would probably be 600, 700 grams by now. And now looking into going into the following season, he does his pairings better. A lot of that stuff will end up being clown to clown, and with half of them being stranger clown combos. And it just situates you in a better situation to hold back for yourself primarily first. Some really key ingredient, important females. but as well, it moves you forward in that stranger clown combination. The longer you hold on to that single gene stranger het clown male that's not even producing real holdbacks for you, you're tanking your own projects, not the project, but your own projects further because you're not moving forward. So he would have recouped $2,500 on the sale of that same male that cost him $5,500, and this is in a down market. Not only that, he still has two clutches where anything he wasn't keeping, he can recoup still some of that $5,500 investment from selling off some of the stuff that he wasn't going to keep. And it would have situated him in a better situation now moving forward in the same project. Just my opinion. It's just the stuff we talk about on a one-to-one. And me and Tim, we had these same conversations about different combinations, and it just all really, really needs to make sense. And it goes back to the same thing. It's like knowing what you know about Dreamsicle, knowing what Tim knows about, the Super Orange Dream Pod. It's like we can't continue to do the same thing in different scenarios.
This is where it's kind of like the process. Don't count your eggs before they hatch. So it was like, okay, well, I bred him. Now it was like, let me wait for these to hatch and come out, hopefully in the hit before you really actually sell him. Because then he's the breeder, and then you only kept females off of him. You didn't keep any males off of him. Right. I figured I got him up to size. I was like, he's up to size. Let me breed him again, and I'll sell his babies, the males, and move them out. Which I ended up hitting only 3 females, and the rest were males off of him. Right. I didn't hit, as many as what I thought I was going to hit on the female side.
Right. Yeah, and that definitely affects you because now you got them females up with good size now moving forward, but they're still going to move forward with those combos or whatever they're going to be. And are all of them pastel or no? Is it just
no? Only the one. The one is because on the Mojave side, I ended up hitting more pastels in stranger than I did non-stranger with pastel. But on the other side, when I bred them to the clown, I had 2 females that didn't have pastel on them.
So nice. You got a nice little mixture. That'd be awesome. So none of the ones from the Mojave girl did you keep, so you didn't have to end up testing them as well for.
I kept one female. One female. I haven't tested her yet. One female that was stranger pastel Mojave clown.
That's something else that actually Tim and I, we talk about on a regular because we're always sending these sheds out to Charlie. But hatching out, doing a lot of these planned out het-to-hets, there is nothing truly wrong with doing het-to-het pairings. There really isn't. But you have to change your mindset. And Tim can elaborate a little bit on it. Tim, your old school mindset, when you do your pairings, when you're planning, I don't want to speak for you, but you're typically planning out for what's the best thing you can hit. Right? How do you go about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's most of the time. Well, it used to be like, what's the best odds that I could hit? We'll go for that. And then it was always, if I had a female that was just like sitting and I knew that she had follicles, but I didn't have the right male for her. Okay, well, this will be the coolest male that I have ready, and we'll just put that with her and hope for the best. And it's the worst, like that outlook. It never works out that way. And like more recently now, it's especially over the last year and a half, especially this season in particular, it's not really what the best pairing is. It's what's the worst odds that I'm going to get, and is that even worth it? If it's not worth it, don't do it.
Right. And a lot of that. Who?
Limey.
Oh yeah.
He disagrees.
Yeah, so Limey, I have focused on that too a little bit more with certain projects, like making sure that I'm keeping an extra male just in case, because I've ran into that a lot. The male gets the size and just doesn't want anything to do with the certain female that you need him to breed. So I've been getting a little bit better with that, trying to hold back multiple males.
Shout out to Ball Game, yep. So, and when we're doing our pairing, so also it goes when you're choosing your males and females. So us in the earlier stages, again, not claiming to be pros at it at all. We're just trying to take our best shot at it. So when we pick our males and or females, same thing like holdbacks, we're trying to make sure that number one, for our holdbacks, it's the best animal that we're shooting for to hit, and on the gender as well. And that's what we end up holding back to move forward. The biggest advantage, I think, for the mainstream bigger time breeders is a lot of them already got, fire in the tubs when it comes to the females in certain projects. I mean, all of them, they got every see, oh yeah, that's 6 gene, double recessive visual female, yeah, she didn't go for us this season. I was like, oh my God, having that in the tub, period. It's just like, I just like to look at it. But setting yourself up in a situation where you end up holding those animals back, if you're producing them and they aren't even available to buy, I think that's the number one way to go if you can do that. We're kind of getting our feet wet with it right now with our Ultramel Hypopod project. We hit some heavy hitters, and we can't let them go. You got to kind of hold on to them so you can go in different directions. Or like you said, some may go for you when it's time for them to go, and some may reach size and say they're not going for you. But at least you have kind of different avenues you can kind of go down.
How'd that happen?
It's the worst, man. Like, you get that one male where you're like, yes, it's a male. And then you're like, okay, all of his girls have follicles. Yes, let's breed. And then he's just like, nope.
I've had those females that said, hey, I'm not going for you for 4 years. I'm gonna wait 4 years, and then some that have waited 5, almost 6 years before they decided to go.
I used to think back, like in the early stages of breeding, I used to think, because you would always hear people, within the first 2 years, blah, blah, blah. And it was always like, man, if the girl's not like 2 size and she's been a good eater or not producing, I was used to be really worried about that. Like, man, what's going on? Like, something's got to be going on. But then I feel the more you talk to veteran breeders and like old school guys, like I know Will in Canada, he's got certain girls that he doesn't even think about breeding for like 6 years. And it's like, okay, maybe it's not that far, it's not a bad thing. So now it's just,
Right.
I think that helps a lot of patients too. When you just start letting the animals do their thing, and when they're ready, they're ready.
And Craft Brew, shout out to you guys. Appreciate you guys watching. But yeah, that's from the very beginning. That's been our plan. We do have a lot of numbers comparatively to other people, I guess, that started around the same time. But all of our parents, all our breedings is literally shooting for holdbacks. And you'll learn very quickly that the snakes that you are shooting for in these pairings, you're not always going to hit. You're going to learn that real fast. And just simply by not hitting your goal, snake or snakes in those pairings, you're going to have things in those projects available to sell. So we really don't worry about having certain combos or things to sell, because it's kind of by default, we're going to have snakes for sale automatically. That's actually what Darren and I talk about, as well as Tim, the same concept.
Because I'll tell you right now, I haven't been to one show, so it wasn't even the thought process of just, hey, I'm gonna shoot these just for the shows, which I know a lot of people do that. They shoot for just the shows, but I never really thought of it like that ever. It was more of like, okay, what am I gonna keep? What am I gonna breed for? And a lot of times, my issue was, okay, let's shoot. Let's just let it go. You're not gonna do nothing with it. Let it go. And keeping female. I kept females because the mindset of, oh, they already got up to breeder size. Why sell them?
More girls.
I don't need to sell them. I'm going to turn around and breed them. Yeah. These females are having 10 eggs, 11 eggs, 13 eggs. I'm good.
And I'm like, so what? Get them go.
I'm good.
Oh, man. Jeez.
I don't know. I feel like, with that transition, right? Like the more females, like I used to have the same problem. We just hold females. Like, it looks cool, just put it in the rack, keep it there.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, man, like, I don't know. I like this season. The season that we just got through, we only had 13 clutches, and I like the results and the timing way better than before, with just having a bunch of random stuff. Because, I mean, again, if you have terrible odds or you're still messing around with animals that aren't, relevant at that time, you're just making a ton of stuff that's sitting. And honestly, man, I was really nervous to get rid of so much stuff that we had, just because my first thought was, I'm not going to have anything for the shows. I'm going to have to start canceling shows. I'm not going to have any females to breed. Like, all my stuff that's ready, I'm losing a lot. But I mean, then you start thinking about the time, the money, everything you put in there, especially now for shows. I mean, I think I've done maybe 3 shows this year. And that's crazy for me. We've canceled everything else just because it's either was sold out or don't have any inventory ready. But I don't know. I feel like there's so many. Every day I see multiple conversations about shows. There's so many shows out there. There's so many shows popping up. And it's like, dude, like, I mean, I love the reptile shows, but I mean, it kind of gets to the point where you're doing shows. If you're only making, $100 at one show, but you're doing 6 shows, in the span of 2-3 months, dude, you're putting out a lot of money for no reason.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, and I'm doing that too.
You're
Right?
breaking
So,
even.
like, I used to be all about like shows. You have to be out there. And I think it is important for you to gain a following, but at the same time, it's like, man, like, I can't tell you how much money I wasted last year on doing shows.
Mm-hmm.
Like, seriously, like I probably wasted at least $4,000 on shows between hotels, everything like that, and I can't say that we've done good at a show probably since the end of 2022.
Yeah, and it's all, you have to take everything into consideration because we do them as well. We haven't done them on the snake side of things because, again, we're trying to build our business the same way we kind of followed the other blueprint for flawless crested geckos. But at the same time, long as your revenue can outweigh your expenses when it comes down to the dollars and cents of planning, you have to make it all make sense. Because on the front side of things, vending shows, you're going to have a lot of expenses, but you also want to be able to put yourself out there. Even, Tim, when I see you set up, you have big banner, big display, everything's, MOR is freaking awesome, but it comes with a cost. It comes with an expense, your travel expenses, everything has to be there. So a lot of the time you're going to be transferring that cost over to what you laughing at.
Limey, you better stop it.
Yeah, he's hilarious. Oh gosh, yeah, I know. Leave it to Limey.
He said
But
he
a
was
lot of that cost,
in here.
you need to try to bring in the form of sales at those shows or whatever way you're going to do it. I'm a big proponent of doing both. Do online, do shows. You're going to incur a lot more expense doing shows, but as long as you can be solid at both, expenses come with this. It's just how it works. I don't think it's really any way truly around the expense portion of it. You can kind of minimize some of the costs in certain areas, but you're still going to have expense no matter how you look at it.
So
Honestly,
Josh hit some stranger clown combos.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Stranger Yellow Belly spotting those clown stuff. Yeah, he did hit some stuff.
Congrats. Love it. What you about to say, Tim?
yeah, like with the shows, man, I don't know. After slowing down the shows for over the last year and a half, I'm definitely happy that I did it though. Because like you look back on certain stuff like posts and like just seeing setups and stuff like that, like of course if you, especially we were talking before about like Tinley and stuff like that, like that's a big show, man. You want to be noticed there, and you want everybody wants to have that table where people are like drawn to it and stuff. But like me, it helped me like look at the stuff that I was producing and had out there. Like, yeah, I had some good stuff to put up for sale, but it wasn't anywhere near where like I really wanted it to be. You know what I mean? Like,
So
Right.
now thinking about it, when you did a bunch of shows and you're traveling to a bunch of shows, are you now looking like, okay, I need to only hit these major shows that I know I'm gonna do decent at, or are you looking at?
you can't say that though.
I'm about to say you still can't say
And,
that. Yeah.
and I'm a prime example for that. I mean, the NARBC Tinley, that's a huge show. A lot of people do really, really good there. We did that show, I think it was like 4 years, so at least 8 or 9 times vending. And honestly, I can say, looking at everything as a whole, I was negative every time. And I mean, don't get me wrong. We had like my first big show was at an NARBC show. You know, we walked away with like 15K or something like that. That's, to me, that's a lot of money for especially
huge, yeah.
being the size and the time that we put into that. If you look at it like, okay, we did a week, so we pay ourselves for a week. Even still, $15,000 for a weekend for a week of your time. That's a lot of money. But
Absolutely.
that kept us going. Like, okay, don't worry about the $1,000 hotel bill. Don't worry about the travel and stuff like that. We did this, so let's keep going. But then, you know, your odds again, it goes back to like looking at what we're producing. Like, it was okay stuff, but you're making a trip. Let's say your retail that you're taking is 20 grand, but you only do $300 or, you know, $200 over your expenses. Your expenses are paid for, but you're still like, that's just expenses. That's not talking about your time. That's not talking about, you know, all the stuff going through it. And I don't know, after we stopped doing that show, I mean, we're on the list. I'd love to go back, but it was really good to have the couple of times like that. I think we've been out of that show for at least a year now. And looking back, it's like, what do we remember? Yeah, we remember that one show that I did really good. Dude, I was happy as, you know, could be the rest of the weekend. Like, we didn't care about anything. I don't care if I move anything else, blah, blah, blah. But then you look at the other shows and it's like, man, like, we did one good show, one really, really good show. But then the other 8, it was like, altogether, we probably made like $3,000-$4,000. That's terrible. But
yeah.
I mean,
See, but it's also, I think it's, but you gotta add the emphasis on, you know, is it truly terrible? Yes and no at the same time, which is what we talk about. You know, we do these shows as well, but at the same time, doing both helps you so much, because if you're really going to do your grind work, you're waking up at 6 a.m. and grinding all day and pictures and responding to email, doing all these things during out, you know, the week, and you're making revenue hand over fist from Monday through, you know, Friday, or Monday through the whole weekend on weekends that you don't have shows. But now you're also vending shows where you're in the black, you're in the red, you're in the black, you're in the red. It kind of is the best of both worlds to be able to do both, because now that expense of being in the red from doing the show don't hurt as much if you have the other revenue avenue of, you still have, you know, snakes or geckos or whatever moving out, you have revenue coming in. It's kind of the cost of doing business, keeping all your opportunities kind of open and in front of you. So that's kind of how we deal with it. We gain more revenue online than anything else, but we can't nix shows all together. Kind of same way you do. Like, look, if I got an opportunity, if it's local, if it's convenient, if it's around, do it. You know, it makes sense. But we're not doing it in a sense, and maybe that needs to change for us, because we're not doing the sense of, all right, we're going to go crush this show and, you know, do X amount of dollars. We're going and we're looking at it as, screw the sales. We're going to take A+++, you know, products to the show off the best stuff we got working with us, and put our branding out, connections out, network, market, advertise, and we come back home. We'll have some good dinner, hang out with some good people when we get home. If we get to go home with some extra bread in the pocket, that's awesome. But if not, we're back on the grind Monday through Friday next week. Check us out, Instagram, YouTube, You gotta grind. You gotta grind.
I think that's that's the worst part about it. I miss just like, I don't even remember. I don't even miss being in the shows. I just miss seeing everybody, all the connections. I mean, you meet a lot of people doing all these crazy shows all over the place.
You do.
I mean,
you do.
You can't not do that. So I mean, but
possibly. I mean, even the connections are big to me. You know, when you make these connections, you do the shows.
That's huge. And I mean, I feel that you have to. Like, if you don't do shows, I feel you should. It definitely, in your local settings, you know, I have people all the time that are like, man, we didn't see you at a show yesterday. It's like, yeah, I don't have anything. And they're like, well, we only went there to see you. Like, that's a good feeling, especially to build the local community support you. But I mean, yeah, it also, like I said, for me especially, like, being away from those big shows, like, I look back on stuff, I'll see photos and stuff like that, like, oh man, Tinley's this weekend, like, shit, I wish I was there. And then it's like, man, like, I don't have anything. Like, now I'm to the point, like, if we can get back in, I would love to be able to get back in there. But if I don't have like a wow setup, like a wow setup, I don't want to go.
Right.
It's, make it worth it. Like, worst case, I'd take what is it, like a 4-hour flight. I'll come up and hang out for the weekend. But people don't see the driving, the setup, the 20s, and I think it's, for us, it was like 12.5-hour drive. So
Yeah.
and I just did that like a week ago. When I was out of town, they were like, Schaumburg happened, and they were like, you're going to Illinois. So I was like, man, how far am I from Schaumburg? Like an hour and a half away, and I couldn't go.
Oh wow. That's wild. That's
That's
crazy.
close. Yeah,
Hour and a half.
I mean, our shows is basically just going down to Southern California,
Right.
hitting Anaheim and Pomona, and then which I
Yeah,
think
but that's
Anaheim
still far.
weekend. But
How far is
yeah,
that
it
for
is.
y'all? Like,
It's an 8-hour drive. So
yeah.
hitting that, and then we got 2 shows that are here in Northern Cali that are pretty decent that I feel, and then
Mhm.
I want to say there's one in the Bay. That's three that are pretty decent.
That's
But otherwise than
just
that,
unreal to me to drive for 8 hours and you're still in the same state. That's
we
just
ain't even that far. And we still got San Diego to go down to, which is another
that's
hour and a half, probably. Yeah.
That's because we live in little states, Will.
yeah, I guess
was
so.
We across the whole state. We good.
Shoot.
Jeez.
But what's crazy,
8 hours.
I can hit out to Reno and it's 2 hours away,
Yeah.
and that's in Nevada. But then I can
Yeah, don't go
still
there.
be in California, head out to Anderson or that direction. That's 3 hours, and that's still further up north. That's not even like I'm still Northern Cali, but that's further up north.
So the kind of spin off it and keep us on the same track as far as leveling up. I know specifically, Tim, with you and the way you're working chocolate, like what you're doing with it, but let's single out specific genes. I know Darren really don't, neither do I have a specific gene that we just work more or focus on more than anything else, but your chocolate stuff that you're focusing on is going in a whole different direction. How do you feel it corresponds with the actual, let's say, single gene chocolate market right now? I don't know what they're going for, what, 70, $100, single gene chocolate, male or female?
I mean, you probably honestly, like, even when we hatch them out, which is rare, but we do get them. I think like we do like single gene, just plain no hets, just single gene chocolate males for like 40, and then like females. Really, I mean, it's like 40 and 60 to $75. I mean, again, I really don't have any pairings anymore that are just pushing like single genes. So most of them are like, I mean, I guess the best example would probably be like het hypo stuff. Like even still a female het hypo baby that's chocolate is still like maybe $100.
Right.
But
And
I mean,
that's
that's really why I'm really trying to like think outside of the box with everything that we're doing with that, so we can make certain combos that people like. I mean, we've hit a couple this year. Like, I have to get them tested because I don't even know what I made. Like, we just don't know what it is, even though I've been doing it and work with the same genetics for a while. This is a couple years into it, and we're still like there. I have like 7 animals that I've been talking to Charlie with. Like, man, I got to get these shed tests into you just so that I'm sure what it is. But they're definitely getting more complex. I mean, the stuff that we're getting ready to hatch out, though, whew, man.
Now, I think it's relevant to the conversation because, some people feel more, I guess, passionate about certain genes, like how you feel about chocolate. And I like chocolate as well, but I like to focus on you because that's one of the genes, kind of incomplete dominant gene you've taken. You have supers, you have it in certain projects, you have it a little bit of everywhere in your collection. I like that. But like talking to different people, they kind of are a little rough around the edges on any gene. It could be inchy, it could be pastel, it could be whatever it may be. A gene that they like, that they kind of infuse throughout their collection, but they'll be disappointed because, let's say, chocolate is $40, single gene chocolate. Do you think where it is, how long it's been out, how long people have been working with it, do you think that it should drop to the level it's dropped single gene as of right now? Or do you think, oh, it should be more value on it? Because that's often the discussion.
I mean, it's kind of a tricky conversation, right? Because of course, seeing the newer people come in and like finding those new owners and new breeders and people that want to do what we do, you know, again, you're playing the odds game. So like if somebody could buy a single gene chocolate for, let's just say $40, which they buy a female and they get a stupid crazy deal on a male from auction that is just like unheard of. And now like their first clutch, they're hitting, stuff that I'm shooting for. We'll just go with that. And sometimes it can be frustrating. Like me, I really don't. I hope that if somebody does something and I'm working on, hey, share it to me so that I know what I'm looking at.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
it's like me. I mean, everything's gonna fall where it needs to, man. I mean, like Darren was saying with the lavender stuff. I remember being at a show where somebody was selling an albino baby, an albino. It was $10,000. It's and honestly, if you weren't there, people don't believe it. Like me, I still don't even believe it. Like, man, I would give that away to somebody. Like, really, like an albino, come on. But everything does and goes where it needs to. But again,
well, they said bananas was going for what, 20 or something like that? 20K?
I literally watched people buy bananas for $30,000.
35, yeah.
35,000. Like it was.
I think I even have a clip, and sometimes it goes through your history on Facebook. And when it comes back up, I'm gonna screenshot and save it again. And I'll be sharing it everywhere. I remember these days.
But again, like I feel like I don't know. I think it's hard to find a breeder like not like myself because we're all different, but it's very hard to find a breeder like me. Everybody knows if they know me, they know I work a lot of stuff, but chocolate is like the top. Like that's the gene that I started and I wanted to like keep going with. I feel like certain breeders, it's hard to find a breeder that has that one gene that they really
like Limey and paint. He's killing it in paint and blackhead.
Limey has the paint stuff. There's obviously there's people with like the monsoons, the DGs, stuff like that, but like people are like, oh, well, don't you feel bad when you have like a normal chocolate female and you have to sell it for $40? Like, no, not really, because when we work a project that's strong, I can sell that person that $40 single gene chocolate female. And the second that they ask, hey, what do I do with this? Like, where would you go? I have so many different options to show them. And then the supers. And that's what I feel keeps those genes relevant. I mean, again, look at the stuff right now. Like we know for sure through genetic testing that Wookiee and chocolate are different. That's
right.
Yeah, now that they came out with that, yes.
Now the big dilemma is back and forth. How many people sold chocolates as Wookiees? How many? All that stuff. So and that probably did happen. Like I'm not gonna tell. I like chocolate. Chocolate's better anyway, so I'm not gonna do that. But that happened somewhere. But at the same time, it's like when you have the people like me, I don't care what comes out with chocolate. Like, man, come on, I don't care. We found out with Justin's thing, finding out how allelic it was with all these different genes, and it made me stop a few projects. 100%. There were some things that I had already hatched that I was wrong because of the genetics, and we got rid of it just because it was we don't want to get screwed with that. But for me, like, there's not really like, I mean, I've heard some people reach out to me and they're like, dude, super chocolates have wobble. I've hatched probably 100 plus super chocolates, never seen one wobble. But it draws people away from the gene and not wanting to work with it because of that. But me, it's like I go off of what my history with it is. I know some things they've had terrible wobble where they wouldn't even eat stuff like that, but I'll stay away from that. But it's not going to change me to get out of it. Now it just forces me, like what we're doing now. We need to make something. Oh, I don't
more
like
creative.
All right, well, hold on. Let me show you this.
Right. And you're like, whoa.
Yeah, and I mean, we hit a couple this year to where even me, like, I was like, whoa, what? Like, I gotta test this because I don't know what it is.
Hey, We were on the train about the Audra loves sunset, but I was like, oh yeah, no sunset, man. I seen spot nose. Was it no calico sunset? That's
Yes,
impressive.
Calico. So I've been saying that.
the
Oh
same,
man,
That's
literally the
Bob sold
same
it
animal.
to
I think it
Canada.
was
that's
it was a sugar sunset or something.
Yeah.
Like
So
yeah,
that
that's
Brock
impressive.
Wagner in it, or is
Yeah.
it Brock
So
Wagner
it's
or
just
Brad Boa? One of the two.
everything literally has to have a moment. Actually, and you're saying the same thing, accepting the gene is going to decline in single gene value. Sometimes you gotta put your feet to the fire on some of that stuff. And some of our personal conversations, Tim, where we talk about why certain things aren't moving. You'll have, which you've kind of already moved that stuff now at this point, but you're like, oh, why is this, chocolate inchy or chocolate fire or, just simple 2 gene, combo, and it's sitting on the shelf and it's available, and you're moving and it's not moving. It's because you have an internal self value for your chocolate gene where maybe that specific combo has fallen, and you're like, nope, I got to get this for it. And then you finally come to the realization, like through checking comparables and sales and sold snakes, and you're like, I'm out of contact with the actual market on that specific combo because you have such a love for that gene that's in it. So it's kind of hard, man. At the same time, to have
we're getting ready to go through that with the chocolate head clown stuff. So
yep,
I've already been. We just started hatching out some good stuff from the chocolate clown stuff. No visuals, but heads. But I'm looking and doing my research, and it's like, man, like that stuff. The visuals aren't going to tank that much, but even the visuals have dropped. But
right.
again, it's like, we have few that are heads. It's like, man, I'm going to have to. These are going to be really low to get out the door, but it sucks because it's powerful. But at the same time, again, the power is in the supers. The powers are in the super visuals. And like we always go back and forth about, look, like with me, chocolates, I shouldn't be making single gene chocolates. I shouldn't be making single gene chocolate het clown. I shouldn't be making that stuff. That's the gene that I'm focused around. So again, that goes back into bad pairing or bad odds. I mean, it happens, but you should always be like me. We're really pushing for that next year. Like next year, there's a lot of things that I have in my rack right now that I don't even want the lowest odds to be that. So it's like, okay,
And that's by design too. So to put that out there, even though Tim gave me hell about it, but all three of us, for sake of the argument, we have smaller collections. We really do. In the grand scheme of things, all of our collections combined is really still a smaller scale collection. So when you have smaller scale collections and smaller operations, you're going to have to make some tough decisions, just like what Tim was talking about. In theory, can you make simple combos and do okay with them? Yes. And again, it's not a jab or a stab, whether you like or not. We don't have a dog in the fight, but we look at like Will Banks, where he has these awesome incubators that he moved, but for sake of the argument for this discussion, is he using them? No, they're awesome, but he's not using them because he got like 8 walk-in incubators because the man has 1,000 clutches a year. You know what I'm saying? And again, it's not a stab. It's just he has one of them collections that's just huge. Cool. It works for him. So if he decides that he wants to have freaking 20 clutches of chocolate, he can do that. I'm sure he has his infrastructure in place where his employees or his feeding and rodents, all that is aligned. So for our collections to make any type of progress on our projects, you have a finite amount of space. And if you're going to take a step back and you're almost hitting the pause button if you're not progressing. So if you're not moving forward, you're sitting still, you're stagnant. So that's my opinion. I would think that y'all agree. What's your take on it?
If you're not moving forward, you're rewinding, bro.
True. You are you stagnant? You're just not even rewinding. You're just not going anywhere. You're not evolving. You have to stay ahead of the curve, and that's the hardest part, especially if you like, I created, I'm gonna keep it.
Right.
It's sentimental value on this animal.
And that's the problem you run into. You're gonna run out of space. Yeah.
Sentimental value. And, I got it. That's it.
And that's hard. I find that, now since the time is kind of in it still, but it's really past. If you think about everything with the stock market, here I go on my business tip. But you think about the stock market, when things are on the rise, and people are still buying in, but for the people who have whatever, we're talking about, whatever tick we're talking about, and they're watching that NASDAQ or whatever climb, they're not necessarily selling. Everybody isn't selling all at the same time. They're sitting, riding it out, and they'll watch it peak. And then they'll watch maybe a slow decline. They'll set a threshold to say, if it declines down here, I'll sell and bail. But it may peak, decline a little bit, then peak again, decline a little bit, and then peak again. And they still just rock solid. They never move because they set their parameters in that project, So the same thing applies. Everybody knew, the boom. We got in during COVID. So we already kind of knew what to expect on the business side. But now that thing, level out and things on the rise and plans, everyone still panics, but you got to prepare for it. Watching videos like this, helps with the research behind it. Figure out what interests you, because sometimes you got to do the same thing like the stock market. And that's what I was talking about with Darren. When you see, okay, cool. And I'm not going to throw pastel on the bus, because pastel is a very good gene you can use in certain combo. I'm talking about any gene out there. But stranger specifically, everybody's seen that plummet, but they still have some incredible combos out there. Me and Tim was just sending some back and forth. I'm like, this is crazy at this price. And it was like $2,000 animals, and they were awesome, and they sold. But I say all that because you sit here and you'll produce, let's say, a Mojave Stranger, and let's say at that specific time, ready to roll, ready to fly, ready to leave, male or female, it's irrelevant. Let's say at that time you could get $1,000 for that animal, and you're currently seeing the entire market decline. You need to set parameters saying, okay, yes, I need this combo. Either I'm going to hold it back no matter what. There's nothing in this snake that I don't want in it. You know how that goes. For us, we have our males, we have our females. We have a lot of females where we're like, we have the genes we want in this female, but we may have one or two that we don't quite enjoy, or maybe won't be wanting to entertain, but maybe we produced it and we're holding on to it. If it's a super of the gene that we don't, it got to go, because that means that gene's going to be in every baby it produces. But if it has a gene there that
female with 5 other incomplete dominants, and she's double recessive, you let her go.
There you go. You hold it. There you go. But if it's super pastel, no, it's got to go. I'm sorry. Yeah, the super. I'll take the pastel, the one single dose of it all day in a female. I'll take it. But because everything you're gonna have an impasse where all your holdbacks, every single one of them, are gonna be these crazy pastel, and there's nothing wrong with it. But every single one of them are gonna be the same, carrying that gene. So if you have a single dose, you can deal with it. So me saying that, you got to set parameters. If you were able to move that out and then double back, here it is now, and buy the same combo without the gene you don't like for half the price, it's nothing but the stock market.
So Tim, you remember when it was cool to have super pastel and a lot of stuff because your stuff won't brown out, it still look bright.
But I'm sure it's a certain combo. I'm sure it still is. I'm sure honestly, some people like it.
Literally, I mean, pastel was like one of those genes where it's like you had to have it, like you had to have it somewhere. And then like the super, like you said, the super came about to where like everything had to be super pastel. Yeah. I mean, I started a lot of projects where it was super pastel, and then I find myself like, God, I have nothing but pastel. Why? Like, come on, bro.
Okay, come on, bro.
But at the same time, like me, I got rid of when we hit the Superfly puzzle. And as soon as it hatched out, I knew it was super pastel. I didn't care that it was a visual puzzle. I sold it. Like it was gone immediately. And then now that was one of the animals where it was like, man, I mean, that one I probably could have gotten at least a year of breeding out of him just to make more like stuff to be able to push out there. But at the same time, like, I don't know, now I'm the same way. It's like super pastel.
Well, and look, we got to pass the shade around since you're throwing shade at the super, because the pastel police gonna come and attack us. You can't do that, okay? No, I'm serious, man. Like, man, they jump on you. So this is the thing I want to put out there. pastel is no different than any other gene. It's an incomplete dominant gene. The super version, at least, is for me. The super version is theoretically still the same thing as your BALLZ. It's just your BALLZ are more visually pleasing. You have all white snake, but at the same time, can you imagine having a blackhead, leopard, red head, red stripe, super yellow belly? You're like, what in the world? And to figure that out, you're gonna have to figure that out through breeding. But if you have all of that with just a single dose of yellow belly, you got a very impressive looking snake there that you're working with, that you can probably visually ID everything in there and know where to go and where not to go when it's time to breed that animal. But if you're hatching out, and again, there's nothing wrong with all white snakes, just like there's nothing wrong with super pastels. But at the same time, when you breed those, you're running into that same issue with your Aussie boy.
Dude, man, everything that I hold back is yellow belly.
So yeah, tell us that. So what is the genes on your Aussie boy? Get that out there, because that's very important.
He was sold to me originally from Aussie. It was an orange dream, yellow belly, genetic stripe, posset clown.
Okay, and what is he?
He ended up proving red stripe. So he's orange dream, yellow. He's orange dream, yellow belly, red stripe, G stripe, and then he proved out to be 100% het clown.
Wow. So you have 5 gene animal there. So what I'm talking about when I start talking about super pastels and the BALLZ is, now imagine you have, something that's not even in line with that, but, let's say a het G stripe, het clown. So you're in the Kiki project, yellow belly on top of that. Let's throw red head in there on the female side of that. And now hatching out all white snakes, okay, that can possibly be visual Kikis, red head, red stripes, everything. So that's the point I want to make. When you're in the planning stages, you want to make sure that stuff isn't happening. It's not a hate for BALLZ, it's just a higher end project. You're not going to be able to visually see what you have. And at some point, if you're creating those animals to really take advantage of it, you're going to end up having to send a shed in and getting $300 worth of tests done on a shed, because you're going to have to test for yellow, well, not yellow belly, you're going to test for red stripe, red head. You're going to test every doggone thing that they're going to have on the doggone panel. And I don't think
honestly,
we have,
like some people, I don't know. Some pairings, like I look back, like we see stuff from like animals that we used to have in the collection. And it's like, man, I don't know. Nowadays, if I would have had some stuff that I had way back when, I'd probably breed it together and make white snakes just because I can test it.
Right now, yeah.
I mean, now it's like, you don't stray away from. I mean, obviously, like our collection, we stay away from that stuff, so we barely have it. Besides yellow belly. Yellow belly is my only nightmare right now. But like other than that, I mean, nowadays you can test for anything, and if you're doing a panel test, like $200, if it's a project that's really worth it, $200 to see what's in there. I mean, it's kind of a steal.
But you still gotta be devil's advocate. If it's a steal. And yellow belly's a nightmare right now. Why is yellow belly a nightmare? Because you can just test for it, right? You're like, heck no, I want to stay away from it.
I mean, honestly, yeah, no, like, so with the Kiki project, that's been like I've been like full force with the Kiki stuff, and we did testing. We tested, I think it was like 18 animals last year and everything like that, and like I didn't even realize it when I tested. Like I was just like, okay, cool, this is double head, this isn't. We'll sell that. We'll do all this. And then we were looking, and like we kept, I think it was 14 animals last year. I think out of the 14, 12 of them were yellow belly. So it's like, man, like I had plans to like hold this male back and take him to these females, get some goods, and I'm like, nope, can't even do that no more.
But you can. You get all white snake, just test it, right?
Honestly, I don't know, because people say that. So when you really think about that, like, oh man, I wouldn't do that. Like me, I was like, dude, everything that I have back in the like tested double head, like everything's yellow belly. How did this happen? But then thinking about it, it's like, man, if I can get like some leopard in there, leopard ivories have patterns, so it could be good. But it's definitely, I was not even.
Has anybody made the ivory confusion? Would that have pattern? Because if leopard does it, I would kind of think.
I don't know. I don't know if I've ever seen one.
And that wouldn't be too bad. I mean, if you did a leopard, confusion, ivory,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
it
you
had
know,
pattern in it,
I mean, well, that happened when Justin realized, or whoever was the first one to do it, like when they made
Justin
like
did it.
leopard, yeah, like the leopard ivories, like that was like mind blowing. People were like, "Oh my god, this is an ivory, and it looks way better with this jean." So, I mean, some
But
stuff is
that's
not.
as a baby because he was saying that as they age, you kind of can't see it, and then a
Yeah,
certain line
Yeah.
of I guess the certain line of leopard would show up, and certain ones wouldn't show up as they age.
Well,
It
they
disappeared.
have him on. He has them online, but it's not really worth showing because there he has it listed as possible confusion. So I'm guessing you can't see it.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
Let's
stuff
see it
like that,
anyways,
you really
Bill.
gotta watch that stuff,
Let's see
man.
it anyway.
It'll definitely catch. It'll sneak up on you. Certain jeans, they'll definitely sneak up and like the yellow belly, man. But luckily for me, it's a project where I'm like, I'm not only doing a little bit of stuff there, so I'm like, all right, I'll just take these females and we'll get a male for them, and then we'll switch these boys over to this part of it.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, you really
Yeah.
you can't tell.
Yeah.
It's leopard ivory pied,
Which that doesn't
possible
really help.
blackhead, possible confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, that's a dreamsicle, but you can't tell if it's blackhead or confusion.
No.
And what's confusion? Is it acid and confusion or no?
Yeah. Acid, confusion, and static.
but they're not the same.
They're not.
Acid
They're
and
not.
confusion aren't the same. So is
Huh.
static the same? I haven't heard it yet.
I don't work with that stuff. Like I try not to work with certain genes like that just because of all the differences. It's just like the blitz and trick and all that stuff, man. There's so too much going
Oh
on.
well, we know those are the same, but acid and confusion aren't the same. So we're good.
That's a cool one. Acid, Enchi, leopard, orange dream, ivory.
Yeah,
But
my only problem with stuff like that is, man, like we were talking about before, it's like when they get to an adult size, you have a one colored snake. Like, I mean, I don't know, man. I know it's Ozzy, but like the stuff that he is producing, man, that color, I need the pattern, man. I need the pattern in the color. Like, I don't know. I guess that's why I'm not really a big fan of like champagne stuff. I don't like the like stuff when it gets, just overtaken by certain genes and it just ends up one color.
But the champagne blackhead leopard has pattern to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it took somebody to do it to make it find out that it had pattern to it,
Yep. I agree, Brandon. I agree with you on it.
I dropped the yellow belly.
Well, that's why for the Kiki project, our main goal is we're looking to add an orange dream red stripe Kiki. No yellow belly in the future one. I feel like
that was probably getting our Ozzy boy, was to stay out of the Bell complexes initially and get something going. But now what it also allows for us a little diversity as we move forward. So in us not getting, yellow belly in the mix, Mojave in the mix on the earlier, I'm not saying stay away from it completely, but now we have, I believe it's 6, holdback females now that in 2-3 years, whatever, we can go 4 or 5, whatever, different directions with it, and do some other things. We don't have to necessarily just go back to the dad, because we're starting off in the genes in those combos of the females is Orange Dream, Enchi, Leopard, Ultramel, Pod, Hypo. So on our road to the triples, we already got the codoms in the mix. We got the double visual, the head. You're rocking and rolling. You can now add yellow belly if you want. You can add Mojave if you want. Now that you're already advanced and you're not really in a funnel, kind of going down one lane, because you can take one breeder female and go that way and stay in a different direction, make supers or do whatever that comes to mind at that moment. You're not kind of stuck. Where if we had yellow belly in the beginning, I mean, I'll be honest, if we hit those same females and they got yellow belly in them, we got to hold them. But now that also limits you now. If you have yellow belly added on, moving forward, you know, if you have 3 or 4 of them with yellow belly, you still have the chance of potential hatching now combo triple visual snakes that's going to be all white.
And it, you know, and it had to be yellow belly, right? It couldn't have been like gravel or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'll tell you, so I still like ODYB Fire is a good combo, right? So let's change yellow belly for gravel or asphalt, and let's change the fire for vanilla or disco. Then you won't get any all white snakes. I still like that combo, but I'm just
vanilla and disco is awesome. Vanilla and disco, I like both of the supers. I like sulfur too, even though sulfur has its quirks with the supers where it looks like a pie. But I like those and getting away from fire as much. I think if you can, like how you're doing with disco, Tim, adding that in, as well as Jose over there at Japanic, like I like that movement because there's not a whole bunch of people doing it. So even if you go up there, you're not really going to find OD, disco, yellow belly. You're not gonna find it.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with that stuff right now is just trying to get Charlie the resources to get some testing done for certain things. I definitely know that me and him have been talking about trying to get disco, and I'd like to get a fire test just to have that, because like even though what we're dealing with right now, we're dealing with that. We're slowly moving everything fire out and replacing it with disco, but there are a few clutches that we're still gonna mix the two because the Inferno combos I want to hit a few of them, but I mean, yeah, we got to try to work on getting some tests for that. So that's my next goal for this year is to try to get some super disco stuff so that we can get him some shed tests over and hopefully get that in the works.
Yeah, we definitely like Spectre too.
Spectre, I even like Spark. Spark's not even really bad. I like Spark, and I have all.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Puma Spectre Spark. Oh man, Pumas.
Puma is the yellow belly Spark, right?
Yep.
Yep.
The more visual appealing ivory.
That's all it is.
Honestly,
right.
Really
I hear shade.
Like that
I hear shade.
Has so much, but honestly, I would probably say like I don't know, Puma probably. Ivory's definitely gonna be my last choice.
Yeah.
But Pumas, I've seen some Pumas with like a lot of pattern and stuff. They look pretty cool. But again, as an adult, it just doesn't last.
What does the Super Disco look like?
I'll show you.
It definitely it's a busier animal. Yeah, we should. Hopefully, we got some shots this September.
Well,
when we start breeding.
I did a breeding with the blackhead hypo to a hypo female that inchy pinstripe disco hypo, right? But I'm looking at all the babies. I think all the babies came out disco.
Could be, man. If they resemble anything fire, then I would definitely lean towards disco.
But I didn't hit any inchies. I don't think it's inchy. So I'm thinking she's just a super disco pinstripe. And not inchy.
Yeah, Brittany got double super.
Who's that?
Nobles.
Oh yeah. She's got.
Yeah, she does disco a lot. That's where I pick my disco stuff up from.
Super disco, super.
That leopard. I think the leopard disco clown that I got that originally came from her as well. I believe.
I saved that one.
She's one that I'll tell you. She stuck with hypo and kept going with hypo.
Yeah. No
matter what.
I gotta put that one on the watch list. I might end up seeing that on the unboxing video.
Picking that one up.
Oh no. Wow. So yeah, but I mean, super disco. I just like it because, like I said, at the end of the day, you got a busy snake, but at the same time, it's not one of them all white ones where you can kind of differentiate what you're working with. And it seems like Inchi worked really, really well with it.
Yeah, I like what
Really.
Enchi does.
Yeah, because I have a super inchy disco hypo male.
Yeah, I like the disco stuff. It's gonna be. I'll just say it's gonna come back.
And you're getting out
don't
of
want to put me on disco.
having fire in most of your stuff, though, right, Tim?
Yeah, I think there's only like 2 animals that I'm keeping that have fire in them,
Gotcha.
and that's only for like probably the next year. Our goal is to try to replicate it with disco. We're gonna work on that this year.
Yeah, that looks awesome. But it gives you almost a pastel head in a sense.
Man, I tell you what,
Vanilla
dude, one of the most prettiest combos I've ever seen in person was probably, I think it was from Ozzy. It was a super orange dream, super vanilla. Dude, that thing glowed. And then you're talking years ago when like it was still like something brand new. But that like vanilla is one of those genes that I don't know. I think it's the same. It works very well with disco, but vanilla on its own. I'd like
Stone Age. So Stone Age said, "What do you think about Grim?" I love it. Love it.
Oh yeah.
Love it. Actually, Darren and I, we both got Grim Reaper. You got a male or female? Yeah, female.
I got a female that should be going this next season. She should be ready next season.
I got a male. But yeah, I love Grim. Love what it's doing. So we're gonna probably pick up more Grim stuff. Definitely pick up more Grim. And Kyle, what do you say? Super
Kyle's
disco
always
clown.
got some super disco clown stuff.
Man, Kyle got everything, man.
Kyle literally has everything.
Yeah.
Like,
Shout
man,
out
I'm
to
thinking about
Kyle.
doing this pairing and making this. He's like, oh, here you go.
Yeah, I already made it.
Got it. He was the one who I kind of watched besides Justin and Ralph Davis. He had dreamsicles. I'm like, this dude already has dreamsicles. Like one of the first ones on the boat.
Wow. What are you doing with your Dreamsicle project this year? Are you doing anything with it or?
I'm still gonna hit for the this season Yellow Belly ODYB dreamsicle.
Okay.
So that's what I'm
They
waiting
end
for.
up being
I gotta
very,
pick up a
very
female.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I got redhead. Oh man.
Oh.
That's by choice. It's gotta
You know
be
what's
by
funny
choice.
though? Like, see, people say that, but man, I remember asking like all these guys like a year and a half ago, like when Redhead started coming back out. I'm like, hey, do you guys know about Redhead? And they're like, Redhead. Now Redhead is like so popular.
Yep.
I'm checking it out.
Red Hood.
Let's see. See what we got here from Kyle.
Yeah, it looks.
Oh wow.
DG.
Oh, what? He hit this VPI spot nose? I just barely even got VPI spot nose going. I got the visual in that clown, but this dude got super vanilla VPI spot nose.
That's what I
Not
need
sure
more. I
what-
need to continue building more of my Xanthic stuff back up.
Yeah, so the Xanthic stuff I went hard on.
Dude, it for me, I can't keep it. Like if I hatch anything and it's available, it's gone.
Yep. So I should have some visual clown VPIs.
I think we got 2 chances to shoot for them again this year with Black Pastel Xanthic Clowns.
Ooh.
I made a female, I think 2 years ago, but she didn't end up making it. She wasn't eaten.
Oh wow. Yeah, that looked good.
Mm-hmm.
Super vanilla spot nose. VPI.
Yeah, you see the head stamp is gone.
That's wow.
Spot nose looks pretty bright in VPI.
Yeah, I had a lot of it, and when I started working at VPI, and most of my stuff was spot nose, and I found that it really does well with spot nose mixed in there.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. And
Listen to if you find, I think it was what last week. Last week, if you listen to Keys' show, Levance goes in on him and Kyle beefing on the The true ghost. True ghost.
One of the two goes.
LeVan said, "Oh, you don't want to sell it to me? Okay, I'm gonna buy a bunch of them."
Oh no. Oh
They were
gosh.
vintage.
So more for us. Clarence, the Pixel, I think both of y'all probably got more information than I got on the Pixel. I've seen it. I don't have any of it. I had a chance to kind of pick it up. I guess chose not to.
Pixel, I think Pixel has more legs than Peach. I haven't seen
Agreed.
anything I really like with Peach yet.
Agreed.
Definitely.
Pixel has that little bit of the pattern thing going on. I mean,
Right.
I think it might have a little bit more legs. Now, if you add more combos into Pixels, do you think that it's gonna have that where you can't really tell it's even there?
I know they were talking about it being the same. Actually, somebody else was just saying it, but the same as Voodoo. But I don't think it's the same as Voodoo. We have Voodoo, and it don't.
No,
it
it's
don't
different.
Yeah, it's different.
And Beast Morph.
The only thing that I worried about with Pixel, right, is so if I remember correctly, it pixelates the pattern. I just wonder if there's going to be a combo that kind of like not maybe that interacts really well with it and makes it kind of like a monsoon type thing.
Right.
That's the only thing that I worry about with that project. I mean, we don't have any Pixel. I've seen a couple, but nothing crazy.
Did Bob hit the Super Voodoo?
I believe.
Yeah. So. Yeah, he hit the
Super
Super
and it didn't look like the Grim.
No, it don't look like the Grim Reaper. Mm-mm. But they like we have both Voodoo. I like them both pretty much.
Voodoo and Grim. Yep, I like them both. What are you doing?
Let's see. Where is it? What?
Make a face with that.
That's the Grim Reaper.
Oh yeah, because you got both. You put them side by side, didn't you?
No, I got the Grim Reaper and Atari, the Super Atari.
That's right. The Atari, they were saying it was real close to that too.
But I don't have a Super Voodoo, but we have Voodoo as well. But Voodoo they're definitely different. But I like them both. Definitely big on the granite jeans.
Yep, that's why you got what's it, Sentinels or Paint?
You got Paint. You got Tragic Paint. You got all the little granite jeans floating around.
I need to see has anybody made the Xanthic Paint?
No, Paint is still young, man. It's still young.
Yeah,
it's still got a lot of legs.
Paint's still got a lot of work to be done.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, and another too, because if you go and you look up Paint females, Paint, if just single gene Paint females, if you can find them, they're still up there, above puzzle prices right now.
That's another gene that was nothing and it became something again. It had a little bit of legs when it first came out. It was kind of on the higher end, and then it just kind of went whoop, put on the shelf, and then now everybody's like, okay, let's do something with it.
That's interesting, Ben. I wonder if anybody's close to dropping Xanthic Sunset.
That Sunset.
I wonder what it's going to be though.
Well, because it is already, as an age, it's a dark looking animal, So I wonder if
the Xanthic Sunset. So what are you going to call it? The midnight, like past sunset.
That's good. That's a good one. Midnight.
I just like certain projects like that. It's kind of like looking at I know there was a few people talking a little while ago about like lavender DGs and stuff like that. It's just like I don't know. There's just certain to me and my opinion only. There's just certain things that I just feel are.
We had the same discussion. I always throw it out there. Everybody actually cool with KG, and everybody gotta have their own vision, and he has a project. I don't know if he's still continuing the project, but Orange Dream and some of that Super Orange Dream, and he's working Ultramel and DG together. And for me, I wouldn't put them two together. We have,
but at the time, nobody knew what it was gonna look like,
right? And you won't know until you do it, and. Seeing that done, I'm like, all right, duly noted. Because I have some females now that are going to be essentially pod double het Ultramel DG Well, triple head. So I'll have all pods, triple head, ultra male, DG, and hypo. But
Yeah.
I'll go one way or the other, not together.
With those lighter jeans, I just don't think DG should be in them. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it looks as well. That's just my opinion.
I don't think it's gonna be. I think my biggest thing with that stuff is like when you go to start moving them, like unless you're testing, like especially like the lavender DG stuff. Unless you're testing, you're not gonna be able to tell unless it's an adult. I would think. I just think that
a lavender hypo stuff too.
Yeah,
the same thing. You know, lavender hypo. You know, so these are kind of the jeans that I wouldn't do. You know, and DG Ultramel, I don't really like it as much. You know, it is bright, but then I like DG Hypo. I mean, the Ultramel Hypo. You know what I'm saying? I like the way that kind of looks. But then with Lav, I probably wouldn't put it in DG or Hypo. You know, because you're kind of looking at it like, did it hit? Did it not?
Did it do anything?
You know, that's also with the. Okay, so like when you hit the lab pied clown, right? As babies, you can really see what it looks like. But when it hits an adult,
it's yellow.
You're like, it might have a head stamp. You know what I'm saying? That's it when you hit adult. But adding something else to it, is it going to be one of those things where it's like, okay, that's it. That's it. You know, and I've been trying for that project now. You know, and it's like, seeing it as an adult, I was kind of like, no, but it's still a powerful animal, right? I just don't know, you know.
So that brings up the question where we're talking about leveling up the projects and starting with a lot of these males. For example, I think actually the Aussie boy we were talking about briefly, Tim. When did you get him? What year did you get him? And here it is. He's still relevant in this year now.
I think I got him maybe COVID.
So 2019?
2020? 2020
yeah,
COVID
either the end of 2019 or the beginning of 2020, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And
COVID started in 2020.
That was a
it's March. I remember because they tried to shut us down.
Right. And I mean, he's still a very, very solid male even now. Even if he's on the market.
He's more powerful to me just because of what the collection is, right?
Right.
So
absolutely.
With him being a visual genetic stripe het clown combo, way more powerful for me, and I can go further than I would normally in a regular collection, I think, because we don't have, I think I have like 2 genetic stripe female visuals. So that was really why I jumped on him, just because he was a possible het clown, but he proved out for me. But now, like, he's just been going to all the clown females. Whatever's visual, we tested. We know that that's 100% het. If it's a visual clown, it's 100% het G-stripes. So we keep those. And luckily, so far, I've been able to hold back a pretty good amount of females for that project. But
so that leads to, you know, everybody's collection. You got all these genes. You got everybody focusing on different things. So when you choose your males that you purchase, depending on your scale or wherever you are, it needs to be very specific to your collection. The male you chose is very specific to your collection. It costs a lot at the time, and it's still very relevant. Here it is almost 5 years later in your projects. I think it's important even for us to be transparent. You know, from Flawless, it's like we preach about building programs around our males. That's just kind of getting started. And we preach about buying forward, but it's to a certain extent, and it's very project specific. Like what Tim's doing right now, I mean, he ended up creating his own male holdback, right, for that project. And yes, he could go out, or he could have went out and purchased a male, but the male that he created is even more powerful because of his collection and what he has in his collection for him than really buying a male. So kind of backing off, not much of what I said, but it's very breeder specific. For example, we got a DG pod, you know, male way back when. He may have been 10 grand. The reason why we would use him, it would be smart for us to use him. We have, you know, DG or pod het DG girls. We're hatching them out and everything now. but we would end up eventually selling that male and buying a male forward is because the next male we would get would have more genes going in the direction we want to go in, and they would be already on the market at a higher end. But at some point, you're going to hit a threshold, a funnel like Tim, where he's specifically in that project carrying codoms, red stripe, and different things along with his combinations, and he's holding back the right females where he just lucky enough, blessed enough to hit the eyes and hit exactly what he needed as a holdback in a male. It's unlikely in simple combos, even when you're dealing with multiple recessives, that you're going to really hit something on a male side that's going to be challenging. The best thing that I can possibly hit in our DG Pod project would be like I guess it would be an inchy yellow belly DG Pod male. And for us, that's not going to be powerful enough to say, all right, this is a holdback male when we can go out and you can just see what's on the market with DG Pod males. It's just a lot out there. You're almost kind of settling for what you produced in-house, where we could probably sell that male, put something to it, whatever it may be, and get 4 or 5 steps ahead and moving our own project along in our direction. So I'd like to be more specific on those why we're holding things back versus don't hold back males, don't hold back this, but that's kind of why we really don't hold back a ton of males, because we buy
Now
forward.
we need to break that down in layman's term, right?
Oh shoot. Oh man. Well, in layman's terms, for less advanced projects, you want to buy forward. For more advanced projects, you can probably produce your own holdback male. And it's
So
just kind of
yes, and it's like, okay, what project you're in, how far you are,
right.
and leveling up to let go of, if somebody else can make it that you didn't hit, let it go. Don't hold on to it. Let it go. That's the hardest part. Is like, man, I made it. I don't want to let it go. let it go.
Let it go. Listen to Darren. Let it go.
Jump up. Because I've been one of those people. I made it. I'm not letting it go.
It's got a
let
place
it go
forever.
Yeah, you got to pay for everything.
It's more of a place until I breed you. Okay, I bred you, and I can let you go.
Right.
Let it go. It's that's the hardest part for me. Is okay. Move on.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest thing. We're a little bit more lenient when it comes to females. So we always start with our bottom line. Actually, Tim and I was talking about the same exact. Actually, me and Darren too. Same exact thing. We still have single gene clowns, which have been influential and very important in our projects, as well as single gene pods. Now, as we progress, you may end up replacing them with different types of pods. It may still be just a pod, but maybe a pod double het this or pod triple het that, and just kind of slowly leveling up your basement as far as your females go, until you get to a point where every single tub, female wise, you open up, you got nothing but fire in it. And not fire the gene, but fire the snakes, and just killing it. And it gives you a better playing field for when you do want to kind of branch off and add new genes or new combos, or go out and buy into a new project. You already got some type of direction, some type of foundation as far as your females go in your tubs. How long did it take you to learn that part, Tim? I know it took Darren a long time.
I don't even think I've learned it yet.
He said, "I'm still learning." It's hard. It's hard.
It is, because it's the sentimental value of the time that you made that animal is the problem.
Well, I don't even think it's that, right? It's like, for me, I think it's like you put not only thinking about that time, but then you go like, all right, man, maybe I'll let this go, and then you go and look online, like, all right, what's the competition like? What is the average? And it's like, bro, I don't want to sell that for that. Like, why would I do that? Like, bro, you're like asking me, like, this is crazy.
Oh my god!
But honestly, I mean, I don't know. I think this year was pushing more to like, don't like hold on to things, like, and pushing like to get it. It's like me. I've seen it. Even though the clutch count this year is really low.
Right.
I'm more happy when I'm cutting clutches and looking at the babies and be like, okay, I have like, I think, I don't know, I think we're up to from 24, I think we're up to like 15 or 17 holdbacks or something like that so far. But it's like those holdbacks it's definitely a level up from last year. Like those holdbacks are visual, something het, you know, and it's some animals are always going to sting though. When you see them post and you're like, man, why didn't I have that? Like you guys talk about the spot nose xanthic. I had so many spot nose xanthic adult females, and I just got rid of them because I was tired. I was just bored with that part of the project at the time. Bro, I wish I had all of them right now.
Well, we have one.
Like everyone, I wish, like, bro, if I would have just held out, I could have been taking my puzzle to it, all types of stuff. But I mean, you're always gonna have that, though.
Right. Yeah, you're always gonna have that kind of clarity.
That's really what projects to hold on to. What projects do you let go?
That is very, very tricky because I know a lot of people, and I was in the same boat. You can only comfortably work a certain amount of, especially recessive. There's a limit. I don't care what anybody says. Like, even if you're one of these big guys, like, yeah, Justin can do it because Justin's got a big facility. He's got a team behind him that can take care of that many animals. But when you're on a smaller scale, and I've cut out some projects. Lavender, we cut out Lavender. We cut out Desert Ghost. And people are like, you cut out Desert Ghost? What are you doing that with? It's just something that if I want a Desert Ghost later on, I'll go spend, $5 to 10 grand on a powerful male that'll get me through, a good bit later. But right now, if you're, we just got rid of another one today. Like, we have het Desert Ghost females, but I don't have a male. So what's the sense of keeping something like that?
Yeah. It depends, unless you got a project for it, like you said.
Unless it like fits. Like we definitely had to go through and like write down, and Will made me do it. He was like, man, pick out like a couple codons and pick out your recessives that are they're not a want to work, but they're a must. And for me, luckily, I was able to combine a few of them so that I didn't really get rid of them. It just changed how I was going to do it. Because hypo, I mean, everybody says something about hypo, and hypo, I've been trying to add more hypo over the last 2 years, trying to get back into that. But you can't just do like hypo and then like hypo, single gene or something. So like we're like the Kiki stuff. We're only going to work G stripe and clown. That's going to be the same project. I'm not going to shoot for regular G stripe stuff or without, the clown. There's always a plan with that.
Good. What you about to say, Darren?
What was your number where you're saying, hey, I wanted this many recessive projects where you're like, I'm done?
Right. So right now, I don't even, I think right now I'm still at like 7. So it didn't really work too well, but I mean,
I got rid of 2.
Like, so it's kind of tricky, right? Because like Pied is always going to be, I feel like Pied, I'm always going to have Pied because that was like, we're good with Pied. I have multiple females. And like now we want to bring in hypo. Obviously, I'm working hypo into the G-stripe stuff as well, but hypo I already have in Pied. So now I'm slowly exchanging my adult multi-gene Pied girls for visual hypo versions of that, which I'm going to make through the animals that we've held. So, like, I don't know. It's fun. So it's funny, right? Because a lot of people don't know about this, but there's a breeder game. I've talked to a few people about this and they were blown away, but if I can find it, I'll send it to you guys. So there's a game on the computer that it literally, you can go through and you're a snake breeder.
What? You told me about that.
Yes. So, and people
I never heard this. Hold up. This is breaking news.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
So I'll find it and I'll send it to you, Darren. But so I found this game years ago.
It's on floppy disk?
No. So there's the game, and
it came out with Oregon Trails.
When I wasn't dealing with the snakes, I was always on the computer playing the game, and I noticed that the more and more that you would go through, you can breed, you can hatch stuff out. There's crazy, it's crazy. But the more and more you do it, and you start getting into like triple recessive stuff and everything like that, dude, you just end up making white snakes. Like it just generates out as a white snake. Really? I kind of use that game to kind of like look at what we do in our actual collection. Like me, I want to do like triple recessive stuff, but I don't want to get too carried away with triples and quads to where you're only making a bunch of just stuff that's just thrown together and doesn't look good. But you still have to do the doubles and triples over the single recessives because you're going to gain more chances to make those other things in between. So like I said, I think right now we're at, I don't know, probably like 7 or 8 recessive projects, and I don't think I'm getting rid of any more of them. I'll figure out a way to work them.
Somebody's asking, Pythonics. We don't have any Trojan. You guys have any Trojan?
No, but I've seen quite a bit of it at Justin's facility. I mean, it's pretty much just a brightening gene, you know.
Brightening gene.
Yeah, that wasn't something that I had any interest in.
Yeah. With age,
is it like brightening like Gene X or just a regular like brightening gene?
Brightening gene, kind of like fire in a way.
Oh wow. Okay.
But with age, it gets better. I would say I might put that in almost with lace.
Mm-hmm.
Almost with lace,
wow.
You know?
Okay.
What? Trojan?
But not as bright Trojan.
When you
hit clown and you go to like he hit a DG Trojan, was it GHI?
Mm-hmm.
GHI or Hurricane, one of the two. It was pretty bright. It was bright with age. It was bright.
Oh wow, yeah, I see one that's bright.
But yeah, I'm not too much of a fan of it. I've seen it
here and there, but I never really dove into it to kind of. I never really saw a combo where it's like, oh, you know what, I want that gene in the collection.
Yeah, man.
So many genes. So, oh wow, yeah, that's cool. But that's Harlequin too. Trojan Harlequin.
Kind of looks DG.
It does, right? Yeah. It does. It does. And look, they got the same card as you, Tim.
You got jokes today, bro. Don't worry, cancel it. Don't worry, press the X button.
Oh man.
I just that we talked when it was like years ago, like 10 plus years ago, bro.
Oh. But sometimes you need people, and, you know, hopefully these videos do it for some people that are, you know, hermits or introverts. Sometimes you need some type of content or conversation to kind of keep you on task. You know, you may think
hermit is big.
Yeah. Like, oh, I'm gonna do it this way. This is perfect, and you have nobody kind of
all the time.
Yeah, I mean, the more stuff you pay attention, you evolve, you learn. You know, as a community,
I already know what type of day I'm gonna have. You get one of the messages, hey, I want you to overlook this. So I'm like, all right, give me your opinion. And then, you know, you don't have to take someone's opinion. You just throw it out there, like, hey, I think you're doing good on this, or you need to.
So they beat it every day. No names. I'm not saying that, you know, Will, you know. Darren probably knows. You probably.
Oh gosh. Oh,
I hear from Will all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
what
all the time.
Hey, you gotta be real, man. You gotta be transparent, man. Hey, but I asked too. I'm like, hey, what do you guys think of this? You know, if we get to that point, it's like, hey, what do you think?
Terrible, sell it.
They send it here. I was just telling Tim, I said, you know, and everybody said the same thing. They said, what? You know, with the Ultra Male Pod project, you know, we got an Inchy Ultra Male Pod, Pasta Hypo male that's been on the shelf the whole season.
That's sold. Don't even ask anybody.
That's
sold, bro. That's old.
Oh, you never had him tested?
No,
you never had him tested.
Because last year, all he did was he bred to, and that's what I was telling Tim about, like programming, you know, because he's expensive, $5,000. But at the same time, he's killed it for us. So the whole first season, he had nothing but pod females and pod combo females. So he made we held back probably 9 combinations of all visual pod girls that are het for Ultramel. And everything else, females and males that he created, they ended up, you know, being sold. And I mean, he did easily over 3 times the cost in just revenue coming back in, not counting holdbacks, in just one season. So he really set us up for the Ozzy boy to come in this year, and now hatching out really, Ozzy boy's backup, not really moving forward, but a backup. It'll be time to, as Tim said, he's sold. So to move him on. So he just kind of sat on the shelf as a backup because you really, really wanted. I know Beast Morph was talking about it, and so was Morph for us was talking about it as well. It's always important if you can to really, really have a backup. Really, really ready to go.
You'll hate yourself when you don't.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Because when you don't, that's when you're gonna need it. That's exactly when you're gonna need it. Yep. So it's cool. But shoot, we're closing in on 2 hours. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. We'll work on doing our scheduling, so stay tuned on Instagram when we release. It'll be 2 weeks. We're coming out with another episode. We'll do another interview. We're going to get Ash from Morph Minded rescheduled. Had a scheduling conflict, but again, we're going to try to step it up. And if we do have any adjustments in the schedules, we're going to come up with a backup plan schedule to still bring you guys content every 2 weeks on Sunday. We really appreciate you guys. I don't know, checking us out and hanging out with us for about 2 hours this week. And definitely appreciate Tim stepping through, because learning from our mistakes will hopefully help you guys, or hopefully you can laugh at some of the mistakes. So you don't. Guess what,
guys? I'm still gonna make the same mistakes. So
he's still burning the damn hand.
Hey, man. Just think, you only got 2 mistakes. There's probably more mistakes out there that we haven't even encountered yet.
Oh gosh,
are gonna happen.
Who you been talking to, man?
Yeah, I know, right? But man, oh man, we really, really appreciate you guys. So tune in 2 more weeks and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Later, guys.
Later, guys.